Hello, hello, hello. Welcome in. Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you on this Monday morning. And Adam, what are we doing? So I want everyone to know you're locked in with us right now. We so appreciate it. You're in your car, you're at home, you're getting ready for work, wherever you are. Can we just talk the Seahawks all 2 hours? I've got a game plan for us. I've put the rundown together, and that's just all we're going to talk about today. And the Patriots are going to the Super Bowl too, but it's more important to talk about the Hawks. How you doing? How's it going?
Yeah, doing well. That's right. This is a Seahawks show.
It is now
we will
for the
definitely
next 2 weeks. Yeah.
for sure. So we'll dedicate more time to the Seahawks.
as we could. Wow, what a fun weekend. Well, okay, the Seahawks game was fun. Seahawks Rams was fantastic. Denver Patriots, someone had to win, and we saw the Patriots do that. But this came down to at least we can talk about the Seahawks to start. First of all, the lucky lasagna, Adam. I don't know what I'm gonna do because I'm gonna go to the Super Bowl next week because it's right up the street. Do I bring my own lasagna? Do I have to go get a frozen one? I can't stop now.
Yeah, you have to keep it going.
Do you think the hotel, if I called them and I said, hey, can I use your oven for a Stouffer's lasagna? Do you think they'd let me do it? I can't stop.
A little payment under the table might get it done.
I'll say you can have a bite. How's that? You think they'll do it for
Are
a
you
bite
going
of
to the game?
Stouffer's? No. I'm gonna
No?
go. I'm gonna go up there for Radio Row though,
Okay.
just because it's right up the street. It's only a few hour car ride. I gotta go. And now the Seahawks are going, so I'm definitely going. But yeah, I gotta bring a lasagna with me, I think. We'll figure
Yeah,
it out.
you have
We'll
to keep
figure
it
it out.
going. If not, then they're going to blame you for the loss. if
Exactly.
you
And
don't
I'll
make
blame
it.
myself. I'll say, you know what, Sam, JSN, I'll tell him. I'll say it was my fault. But we can start with that game because everyone knows that was the better game of Sunday. And as a Seahawks fan, it was so fun to watch. But they did end up topping the Rams in the NFC title game. And it was a thriller. I think the first thing we have to start with, Adam, is Sam Darnold. He got it done. And that's going to be a lot of what people read today is, how good this team looked, but what Sam Darnold was able to do. He was labeled a bust. I mean, he was someone that everyone talked about, and we did too. Hey, how can he perform under the brightest lights? How can he perform on the biggest stage? And he came out there and he went pound for pound with Matthew Stafford yesterday, and it was absolutely fantastic. You can't call him a bust anymore because he has just been phenomenal this season, even last season, but he was a beast. Threw for 346 yards, all 3 touchdowns, and again, Matthew Stafford looked great there, but they ended up getting that win 31-27, and it was so fun to see Sam Darnold on that stage. He has a 30-6 record over the past 2 seasons. It's phenomenal. It's fun. He's got a home in Seattle. No longer a bust with Sam Darnold.
Who would have thought
Who would have
that
thought?
of the 2018 draft class that Sam Darnold would make a Super Bowl before Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson?
Not good.
It is just insane. But yeah, Darnold played a hell of a game, came out slinging it early, good play calling, play design, and he stepped up and got it done because I think if anyone was questioning if there was a weakness for Seattle, it would be Darnold under pressure in a big game. He had 6 interceptions in the first 2 games of the season, in the regular season against the Rams. None in this game. Took 3 sacks, didn't turn it over. I mean, just played great. Did have a fumble, didn't lose it though. Great performance by Sam Darnold in the biggest spot. So, you have to feel good for him, right? Of all the constant criticism that he has gotten, and especially last year, did have a great regular season with Minnesota, but in the big spots did not come through. And even in the first game against the Rams with the 4 interceptions, did bounce back in that game, and they had a chance to win. But yeah, just a really great game between 2 teams that I think are very evenly matched. I know Seattle won this game, but you saw the stats coming in. They were separated by 1 yard, by 1 point, and this really wasn't any different. This was a really close game that came down to the little things, and unfortunately, if you're a Rams fan, they didn't get it done. But the Seahawks offense played really well in this game. There was only 1 turnover in the game. That was by the Rams, that costly muffed punt. But then again, they did rebound from that, immediately going right down the field. Then you had the stupid, unsportsmanlike conduct.
Yeah,
I mean, look, the taunting rule I think is dumb, but that was a taunting.
For sure
right? You
was
agree,
a
right?
thousand. Oh yeah, I watched that and I said you just can't do.
Yeah.
It was just one of those because they've been so disciplined and it's like you can't do dumb stuff in these moments to give them. You can't give the Rams an inch because they're gonna take it, and they were really close except for that drop pass that honestly, if he caught that, would have probably been a touchdown towards the end. I mean, yeah, it was. I was nervous about it. It really felt like a shift in that game as well after that because they showed the sideline for Seattle and the defensive players going at it a little bit, just chirping a little bit because I'm sure they were frustrated because this was not one of their best games. I mean, if we look at everything that went right for Seattle, defensively, it wasn't necessarily up to the standards that a lot of people have expected for them. So I think that was one of the bigger conversations we're going to have leading up to it. But the Seahawks allowed 479 yards, 8.3 yards per play. And this is the same team that was able to do that a month ago before this game. So that was the one thing where I thought maybe the momentum shifted, and that's when I started to get way more nervous for the rest of that game. But they came through. They held it together. Sam Darnold held it together too. That was important.
Yeah, look, I know the Seahawks defense was a disappointment, but I think it's just the Rams. Like, they've pretty much taken care of everyone else. It's just the Rams that they've had a problem with. And, Rams are a top offense, and we saw that in this game, but they just did not have enough at the end there. Had an opportunity to take the lead and couldn't get it done. The Seahawks dropped 8-9 back in coverage, and on that fourth down play, Stafford had no one to go. I saw people like, oh, how do you not throw to Puka or Devontae Adams? They weren't open. If you watch it, they weren't open.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was just so fun. It was such a fun back and forth. Honestly, higher scoring than I anticipated. I remember saying that Thursday that I said I don't think it's going to be as high of a scoring of a game as we've seen before. And I was wrong about that. I mean, it just looked so good for Sam Darnold again. 25 of 36 passing, 346 yards, 3 touchdowns, and no turnovers. They got to him too. And there were moments where you said, "Okay, is this going to be the time where we see a little bit of a difference?" But then again, Matthew Stafford on the other side just as effective. 22 of 35 completed 22 of 35 passes, 374 yards, 3 touchdowns. But yeah, it was so fun. And I think, the other takeaway that I had from this, Adam, was that, bringing in the Patriots now for this Super Bowl between the Patriots and the Seahawks, this is a win for just the coaches hired in that cycle. I mean, because Schneider, there's a great article at The Athletic that you guys can go read, but Schneider for the Seahawks was, I think, willing to step away from a trend that we had seen for a long time in the NFL, believing that they needed to get the next Sean McVay or Shanahan, right? It was who was from this tree. How could I get, if anyone was in the elevator with Sean McVay for like 5 minutes, let's go and interview them because we want that offensive minded head coach. And I think for Seattle and Schneider to step away from that and to go with McDonald, I think was a big counterpunch that I think obviously made a ton of difference because now he's going to coach in his first Super Bowl. But when you look at the last 4 defenses from McDonald that he's coached, 2 in Baltimore, 2 in Seattle, they finished 3rd, 1st, tied for 11th, and 1st in points allowed. So I think that was a huge change. And we've seen the same thing with Mike Vrabel. I mean, that was such a huge hire for the Patriots that they knew immediately that Gerard Mayo was just not the answer. They stepped away from him, and Tennessee, for whatever reason, again, let him go. And they've won 6 games since they fired Vrabel, mind you. I mean, that has to be one of the dumbest decisions that we've ever seen across the NFL in terms of coaching. And now these 2 guys are in it for a Super Bowl, and I think that's huge for both of these hires that happened pretty recently.
Yeah, both changed the culture in a drastic way too, and you can see it. And that's the one thing I will say about Kraft and the Patriots, getting rid of Mayo after 1 year. There's not a lot of teams that would do that.
Yep.
A lot of times they stick with it, they give them an opportunity, and sometimes you can see it immediately. Hey, he's not cut out to be a head coach. This was a mistake, and they made that decision, moved on, and then brought in the right guy in Vrabel, who I always thought was a really good coach. I mean, you saw what he did in Tennessee. I mean, he got them to overachieve many times, and coming back to New England, just quickly changing things immediately. Didn't take long to get them back to the Super Bowl, which is amazing. I know it was a weak AFC. It doesn't matter, though. Like, they went from 4 wins to now 9-0 on the road, and they also had to face 3 top 5 defenses during this path. Yeah, I know it was Justin Herbert, CJ Stroud, and Jarrett Stidham a backup making his first start of the season, but you still got to give them credit because we knew it was kind of wide open this year. No one really stood out. There was no dominant team. but they still got it done.
They
So they
did.
deserve a lot of credit. And again, going away from Mayo after 1 year is just a monumental decision that clearly changed the landscape for them. That again, I don't know how many teams would have done that. You usually do not see that happen.
No, well, and you and I talk about it. Everyone talks about it. Oh, well, the NFL, what have you done for me lately league? They need to give coaches enough time to establish themselves to be able to get wins. I mean, if this didn't work out, that's probably how we would be talking about the Patriots today. Oh, I can't believe they fired Gerard Mayo so quickly. They should have let him establish himself. But at this point, how can you think that that decision was anything but great? And again, unfortunate on the other side for Mayo not even being able to stay for 2 years. But I mean, the playoff drought, and shout out the Patriots. I mean, Patriots fans, what's it feel like to be a favorite? Because what, Adam, the playoff drought was 3 seasons long. They haven't been to a Super Bowl in six seasons. I know that's a long 6 years, but must be tough to be a Patriots fan. But it's just so important though, and I think it's so important how they went out and got Vrabel, and how so much we've seen development from Drake May. And that's what we can talk about in this game, because it wasn't pretty, it wasn't perfect, and they need to get a lot of things right before this Super Bowl run. But we know there's going to be no weather in Santa Clara. But you were even saying before the show started, they did not look good. No one looked good even before the snow started coming down in Denver. But they delivered when it mattered most. And I think when we look at that game for the Patriots, it was more of they held off the Broncos. I thought to myself, Adam, when that game started, that Jarrett Stidham touchdown pass, I thought, wow, okay, maybe I'm going to be wrong about what Jarrett Stidham is going to look like in this game. But kind of came back to reality a little bit. And so Drake May, again, didn't do much. He did a lot more on his legs than through the air, but they were able to win. He was sacked 5 times. He only passed for 86 yards, had 65 yards and a touchdown on 10 carries. Not the prettiest, but they got it done.
Yeah, he got it really done with his legs, especially late.
Yeah.
That key scramble that he called on his own to pick up the first down and seal the win. He was sacked. That's the 3rd straight game now that he's been sacked 5 times. So the offensive line has definitely been an issue. Again, they have faced top defenses, but they did find a way to get it done. It was not pretty. It was a struggle. But going on the road, winning in Denver is never easy, even if Stidham was the quarterback, who essentially put together one good drive. Had that big, deep pass to Marvin Mims. My guy, Marvin Mims.
Your
coming
guy.
through again.
Did you take the prop? What was
Nah,
I
didn't.
Oh, come on. All right.
I wasn't messing. I didn't really mess with any props in this game. I kind of felt, I didn't think it would be like this, but I knew it would be a little ugly.
Yeah.
And New England's defense, though, has been phenomenal in this postseason. Again, I know they face some quarterbacks that struggle, but they're part of the reason why those quarterbacks struggled. And, they've been really good against the run. We saw it to begin the year. They were great against the run. They had a stretch where they didn't allow a running back to go over 50 yards. Then they started to struggle. Losing Milton Williams with that injury certainly changed things. He came back, and now they've been much better. So their defense has been a big story. They spent a lot of money in free agency in the offseason, and it paid off. And, now they'll definitely have their toughest challenge in the Super Bowl against Seattle. So, but still, Drake May getting the Super Bowl so quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and as you said, for those young kids in New England who were just born a few years ago,
it's tough
it
for
was a
them.
tough drought, but now they finally get to see their team in the Super Bowl.
They know struggle, and I'm so happy for them, because now they've got to turn it around, because it was such a long drought. I hope you can sense the sarcasm, because but it's also just like when people talk about it, it's probably somewhat jealousy too, because they also have a franchise quarterback. You know how hard it is to find a franchise quarterback in the NFL, and they can just hit on the next one that comes out after Tom Brady. That's the other part of it, is like, this is not a flash in the pan for the Patriots. It feels like we're entering a new era where we just say, yeah, the Patriots are always going to go back to at least the playoffs and maybe Super Bowls. And so it's going to be a big question, and we've got 2 weeks to preview this game. So we've got a long time, and we'll make sure to do that. But I think if I was looking at the Patriots and saying, okay, they're going to the Super Bowl, I don't think I would have expected their offense to kind of be stuck in neutral after what we saw during the regular season. I don't know if that would have been part of their game that I said, oh, that's the one thing that they're doing that's just wrong, that doesn't look good. May's 23 years old. He's the third starting quarterback under the age of 24 to reach a Super Bowl, but this offense had 72 yards in the first half, and that's when it was still sunny, Adam. I mean, that's when it was still looking good and the snow wasn't coming down yet. So they only had 2 drives longer than 25 yards all afternoon. Yes, it was bad weather, but that is definitely something they have to clean up, because the offense is probably the biggest concern for this team going into the Super Bowl in Santa Clara.
Well, much was made of their schedule during the season about the opponents, and they took advantage of it. They put up some big numbers on offense. They were taking a lot of shots deep and completing them. And now in the playoffs, as you know, you faced a better competition, and they faced, 3 top 5 defenses so far, and they're struggling. So it's not that big of a surprise. It gets tougher in the postseason. And their offense has struggled, but their defense has really rose to the occasion and saved them. So they're going to have to try and do it one more time. But once again, they're facing another elite defense in Seattle. So it is not going to be easy for New England here, which is why they are a 4.5-point underdog right now.
Ooh, opened up at 4.5?
It was 3.5, but then it quickly went to 4.5 last night.
Yeah.
I think there were even some 5s around.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all we have to talk about with the Patriots for the next 2 weeks. No, I'm just kidding. It's gonna be really fun though. And I think, because I want to keep breaking down, what we saw from the Broncos and the Rams. But at the end of the day, that we know the Seahawks Rams game, that was just always going to be a thriller, and it completely delivered. Sam Darnold he looked good. We can just say it. Labeling him a bust is now kind of off the resume. He's just been able to do things. How sick are Vikings fans too this morning? By the way, I mean,
it's funny because one of my friends texted me and another friend who's a Jets fan, and he's like, "Oh, what could have been for Darnold and the Jets?" I said, "The Vikings fans have to feel worse because
not the Jets.
I mean, the Jets are used to this, right? Drafting players that doesn't work out, they go somewhere else and they thrive. But that was 2018. This is 8 years later. The Vikings had him last year, had a very successful regular season, won a lot of games." And said, yeah, we'll let him go for J.J. McCarthy. And we still don't know how that story concludes yet, but it has not been great so far. And then you watch Darnold go to another team and take them to the Super Bowl, and they are the favorites. It's got to stink for Vikings fans even more.
Well, it was just last year, and they made their decision. And it was, and I will say this, because to be totally transparent, at the time, okay, maybe this does look right, because Kevin O'Connell, the quarterback whisperer that everyone talked about him, saying he was this quarterback whisperer, he must have seen something in J.J. McCarthy that a lot of other people maybe didn't, and just believed a bit more in him. But it has to sting, because we talked about the Vikings last season, and even this season to a certain extent, about a team that does have a certain window open because of their personnel. They've got a great defense. They've got Justin Jefferson, even Jordan Addison on offense. So they had these key pieces that we said, yeah, they could maybe contend. I don't know if it would be a Super Bowl, but they could get there, like we saw it last season. And moving on from Sam Darnold, the Seahawks being aware to pick him up too, because at the time the Geno Smith trade was looked at as a bad move too. That no one was going to get a better return on investment than what the Seahawks had in Geno Smith. But now look at Sam Darnold said, hey, I'm here. I'm ready to go. You've got me. But Vikings fans have to not feel good this morning. It can't be fun to watch.
Look, there's reasons why organizations like New England and Seattle never really have long stretches of down periods. It's because the organization, the structure, and you see why. So they make good decisions. As we talked about at the top, with the coaches being brought in and the right personnel moves. So, credit to both those organizations. And we all wish that we had teams like that. And there's a reason why these teams that make these bad decisions continue to be terrible and lose, and why other organizations win.
Starts from the top down too. I mean, organizationally, structurally, when you've got, someone in the building like Schneider, when you've got, Kraft over there knowing that they need to make these moves and be a little bit different, like I said at the top of the show. Did
you see the preseason odds for these teams to make the Super Bowl?
Oh, I probably don't even remember them, to be honest.
60-1 for the Seahawks, Patriots.
Jeez.
80-1.
That's crazy.
First time that's happened that two teams meeting in the Super Bowl.
I love it.
50-1 or more. That's crazy.
I love it. Well coached, good
If
from
someone
good
has
from the
that
top
ticket,
down.
man,
Yeah, send us a screenshot too. I'm sure some people do. To be totally honest with you,
I don't think a lot really. Like I don't think so. There's no
maybe
way.
more-
Like
I
so,
would say more
for
for
the Patriots to win the Super Bowl. I don't have one.
You
for them
do?
to make it there, but I have the one for them.
Oh,
to
to win,
Tim?
yeah, but you're a Patriots fan, so
yeah, but
you're
that's
like,
still good.
it is. But like, come on, okay, Tim, be honest. Was that more of just like a, yeah, you know what? Let me just take a long shot here. There's no way you truly believe that.
It was the day they dropped the Super Bowl odds, and I saw it was the Vikings and the Patriots. I thought they were undervalued, so I went for them and thought maybe I'll cash out at some point if they make the playoffs. But yeah.
Oh, I love
I don't think
that.
it was
See,
just
look at that.
fandom.
Okay, to be fair, I thought the Patriots so their win total was, I think it opened at 7.5 and it got bet up to 8.5
Yeah.
because I thought that was a good number, like to go over. Like I thought the Patriots could have a good season. Never thought they would get to the Super Bowl. Now I did pick them before the playoffs. I had Patriots Rams because if
Okay.
you remember, I stacked the Patriots in
Yeah,
the draft.
that's right. That's right.
So
do
I
remember
did
that.
think they were going to make the Super Bowl before the playoffs started, but before the season.
Send us
What?
screenshots. I want to see them if people do have them at Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis over there on X. I know my mom has a ticket, but it was midway through the season. I think it was
On
October
Seattle?
on Seattle to win
Okay.
it all. I think it was October. So the odds, obviously, I can't remember what they would have been in October. But that's
See, I
obviously
can't bet on my teams because
No, your team
it's the
stinks.
Mets and the Cowboys. How can I bet on those teams? I know I'm going to lose.
What a year for Seattle sports. By the way, last one, and then we're going to talk. We're just going to talk about what we saw with the Broncos, what we saw with the Rams. So for Sam Darnold, now that we talked about, hey, the Rams aren't his kryptonite, whatever. He's going to face the New England Patriots in the Super Bowl. 2019 was when I think a lot of people said that Sam Darnold was at his lowest. Do you remember this game? He had a low point playing against the Patriots on Monday Night Football, and that's when the mics picked up him saying that he was seeing ghosts. Do you remember that game?
Yeah,
was like,
but
"I'm
there's
seeing
one
ghosts."
big difference.
What?
He had a Jets uniform on.
I know, that's true. Hawks, let's go. I'm just saying that's the last time I think he's seen them, so we're going to make sure that doesn't happen again. So we are going to continue breaking down these games. I do want to talk about what went right and wrong for the Rams and definitely what went wrong for Denver. We're going to do that here coming up next. Oh, what a great day. Seahawks are going back to the Super Bowl, Adam. You can be a Seahawks. We told you can be a bandwagon fan after your team was mathematically eliminated in week 12.
Week 2.
Yeah, week before the season
Felt
started.
like it.
Preseason.
Well, I told you I had that one glimmer of hope when they beat Kansas
You
City and
did.
Philly.
I know,
And then
and
I'm like,
then-
all right, if they can beat
no.
Detroit. And nope, didn't happen as
Yeah,
usual.
it's-
Disappointment. But
yeah, it's brutal. Go
yeah,
Hawks.
Seattle definitely is a fun team. And boy, ever since we interviewed Jaxon Smith-Njigba last
you
year
know
at
what?
Radio Row, he has just become a different player.
We told him, we said, hey, can we would love to pick you as one of the top receivers if you can get it done. I think we talked with Witherspoon too, right?
Yes,
It was
both of them at the
Yeah.
same time
I
when
mean,
they
so
brought us wings
Oh,
and
the
then took them
wings.
away.
That was fantastic. They were with Bounty.
They took
and it
them
was
away,
so,
though.
Well, you said, can I eat some? And there people said no. We said, oh, okay.
Crazy.
well,
Everyone else gave us food. We had like
I know.
some
Well, we
good
had
food.
we had great food in New Orleans. That was fantastic. But I do think, I think in their speeches after they win the Super Bowl, of course, they'll probably say thank you to Kendall and Adam. I would expect.
I would think so.
I
That
would
would be
think
at the
so,
top
too.
of the list. Providing the inspiration. But yeah,
At the very
JSN.
top. Oh my
JSN,
goodness.
unbelievable. Just
What a
gets
year.
open so easily.
I know.
And they had him come out of the backfield.
Mm-hmm.
Just insane. Like, you know where the ball is going, right, for Seattle. There's not much competition. The other receivers, like Shaheed had that big 51-yard play on the first drive, and we never saw him again. Now, he was a great acquisition because even if he doesn't do a lot statistically, his speed, the defense has to account for. They are worried about him. And yes, he didn't put up great numbers, but he also helped on special teams as we saw last week. So he has been a big factor, and that trade was monumental. Like, we talk about Buffalo. They didn't do something like that. Who knows? Maybe they get Shaheed. Maybe it's a different story because that's a team, again, doesn't have speed on offense. And you bring that receiver that commands the safety attention deep, it changes things and opens the offense. But, like, we all know JSN's getting the football, and he still cannot be stopped. So just a amazing performance by him.
It was
Once
insane.
again.
He can't be stopped. And he was, I mean, when you look at his stats though, for the whole year, sure, but even just in this game, I mean, he is the guy. It's 10 receptions, 153 yards and 1 touchdown. That's off 12 targets. You know the game plan, and the game plan is Sam Darnold to JSN and just continue it when you can. The Rams I think made it a little bit more difficult, right? I went back and watched some of it this morning because they kind of sold out to stop JSN on those third downs. And so they had to do things the Seahawks had to do things a little bit differently, because they were pretty successful actually at doing that. He had one third down pass in the first quarter, caught one. And then after that, he was kind of shut out on third downs for the rest of the game. So they had to do other things, but still he was just running circles around the Rams cornerbacks. It was amazing. That one-handed catch towards the left the left sideline. It was fantastic. So JSN is amazing. This team is fun to watch. What did you see from the Rams? Because again, this was another game where you got such a great outing from Matthew Stafford, where he did not show his age. He looked like someone that could get this done, and they were really close. Like I said, I got really nervous after that taunting penalty because I thought that maybe they had flipped the script and gotten the game into their hands, but they weren't able to do it. But it was still a 31-27 loss for them. It was still a great outing from Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, Stafford, bounced back. He struggled last week against Chicago and 374 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, only was sacked one time. I mean, he played great. Puka played well, Devontae Adams. I mean, so the offense didn't lose this game for them. And yeah, they did have that opportunity late, and they couldn't convert on that fourth down. Yeah. Kyren Williams didn't run the ball as well. Blake Corum had the bigger game. After we didn't see much Blake Corum last week. Essentially it has been more 60-40 in the favor of Kyren Williams most weeks. Last week it was heavily in favor of Kyren Williams. This week it went back to more of the split. But yeah, I mean, really the defense and the special teams was the problem for the Rams. But we knew, look, the defense has been a problem. They have not been able to slow teams down. I mean, they gave Carolina's offense, which has been brutal most of the season. Carolina had the lead with 2 minutes to go, and they gave up 27 to them. So that was really the big factor was the defense, and that was the one thing. As someone who picked the Rams to go to the Super Bowl, my biggest concern was defense. Could they get a stop? Could they slow a team down? And they just haven't been able to do it in this postseason, and they could not stop Seattle, which is a big reason why I think they went for it on that 4th and 4. Some people say, "Oh, kick the field goal there." Because I think McVay knew, all right, if I kick the field goal, we're still down 1. Yeah. But we need to stop Seattle, and I don't think we can. And he was right. I don't think they would have been able to stop Seattle. Seattle even came out after that and was aggressive, came out passing, because they knew the Rams are not going to stop us. So we don't want to give Stafford an opportunity to get that ball back with a minute left. We got to make sure it's like 20 seconds or fewer with no timeouts, and that's exactly what they did. So that defense is got to be improved. And again, special teams has been a disaster for them all season. There's a huge difference on special teams between Seattle and the Rams.
Yeah, because special teams has been a liability for them all season. And it was almost was this just too late? Because they fired their special teams coordinator in December. And you almost think back and say, okay, if this was a month earlier or even a couple weeks, would things have been different? But it never got better. And it was, to your point, true. I mean, offensively, it felt like everything that they could have, right? Of course, the Parkinson drop was key and critical, because I watched that and I said, okay, if he caught that, that's probably a touchdown, because there was no one behind him and it looked like he was going to beat his man. So at that point I was like, wow, that was huge. And then
I don't know if you noticed, but he had a Seahawks shirt under his jersey.
Who? Oh,
Parkinson. I think he's still in the Seahawks.
I sent him a lasagna. I said, "Hey, listen,
yeah,
you're gonna have a big moment here in this game. Just don't do it." It was, I mean, that truly though, that would have he would have scored on that play if he caught that. And so,
good chance, for sure.
Good chance. And then special teams was just, I mean, bad again. And when you have something, especially with the Rams, because with Sean McVay, they're usually very good at figuring out their weaknesses and making a change, or at least making it a little bit better. But that was one unit for them that we talked about every single week. What could be their downfall? What could happen to them? And it was always their special teams. And it just never got better, surprisingly.
Yeah, that was a major miscue there, because you just handed Seattle a touchdown. And it just changed the they just changed the game. Again, I know the Rams came down and scored after, but that's brutal. To have that play there at that critical juncture of the game.
I mean, and again, McVay did fine when we're talking about calling plays for the offense. They averaged 8.3 yards per play, 52% success rate. The run game productive enough, right? Probably what we expected there. And again, it was against a defense that is the best in the NFL right now, especially at limiting explosive plays. They got explosive plays yesterday. The Rams did too. And so again, these two teams know each other very well, though. So I think you said this at the top of the show, but this defense I feel like is going to look a lot different when they play the Patriots, but these two teams know each other very well. But Stafford hit 7 passes of more than 20 air yards. And so for a year that you got a lot out of Devontae Adams, for a year that you got out a ton out of, Matthew Stafford, this is probably disappointing because it felt like the season that they could go all the way, and it just wasn't enough.
Like if I told you before this game, the Rams are going to have 479 yards of offense, they won't commit a turnover. Mm-hmm. The offense, obviously special teams was the turnover. Only 4 penalties. Stafford throws for 374 yards and 3 touchdowns. What would you have said the result was going to be?
I would have said, how much did the Rams win by? That's right. What would have been my question. I would have said just like week 16. You take those stats. This is a lot closer than what that game was. But you take that stat line again, I would have asked the same thing. How much did the Rams win by? And they didn't.
But so McVay's a good coach, but his in-game decisions are puzzling sometimes. Now, against Chicago, he admitted it. He said he came out in the press conference and said, "Yeah, I screwed up, but I didn't help us win." Then at the end of the first half, they didn't run the ball. They didn't run the timeout. They left more time on the clock, and Darnold comes down and they score to give them that 17-13 lead at the half. The play with Cooper Kupp where instead of just challenging it immediately, so you don't, you lose one timeout, he had to take a timeout and then couldn't challenge it. I think Kupp was a little short. Do you?
As a Seahawks fan, no. Heck no.
Objectively, right? It looked like he was slightly short. It was close,
It seemed like enough to warrant the challenge, but once they burned the timeout, it was like, okay, well, I understand. Because after that, then if they would have lost that, he would have had no timeouts left. So I didn't think that was a good play, like a good
because he took a timeout instead of just challenging it.
Exactly. So that was weird. So I think that he does deserve criticism from some of the management in this game. But I don't think those decisions lost them that game, if that makes sense. Like we can look at that, but I don't know if that lost them anything. But maybe Rams fans feel a little bit differently.
Yeah, again, I just think it's 2 evenly matched teams, and Seattle just played a little bit better in this one. Like I think if they played 10 times, I think it would be 5-5. I think they're that close.
Yeah, it was. Oh, man, it was such a great game. So, yeah, it's one of those things. And then, of course, one of the first questions out for Sean McVay was, if Matthew Stafford's coming back, and I think his response was, "What kind of question is that?" But it is a question that we're asking because I think he comes back, and I don't even know if it's a question because he played so well. How could you hang it up after playing such a great season? But you never know what happens in the offseason when they start to look at themselves and make those decisions. So we'll kind of be on Matthew Stafford watch here for a while. But I want to talk about on the other side of this Patriots-Broncos game, what happened to Denver? What were they able to do? What were they not able to do? We're going to break down that side of the game here coming up next. That was 2019 Sam Darnold, mind you, not 2026 version, Adam. He's different. He's not seeing ghosts anymore. He's fine.
He is only seeing touchdowns in the end zone. That's all he sees now. I mean,
he's like, all I see is Bobo, JSN, whoever I need. It doesn't matter. I'm good to go. Oh, I'm so excited.
Yeah, amazing performance for Sam Darnold.
So
and got to feel good for him.
Fantastic. You know who it probably doesn't feel great for, though? The Denver Broncos. Sorry, Denver Broncos fans. Broncos country. And you know what? I will say this, too, because I was on, you're on social media all the weeks leading up, or the days leading up to this game. Broncos fans were very adamant that Stidham could get it done. And I kind of loved that because if it was my team, I would have probably been like, yeah, no, this is over and it's done. No offense to Drew Lock out there. But, they really tried to stay positive, and I thought that was big. But, man, it just did not come through for them in this game. And, again, it was gross at the beginning beginning of the game, beginning to the end, from what you saw in the change in weather, it was insane how it just started happening so quickly with all that snow. Patriots were able to duke it out and win 10-7 against the Broncos. So I want to start by asking you, since we just talked about Sean McVay and his decision making, did you hate Sean Payton's decision making in this game, more specifically on that fourth down where he just said, "I'm thinking about momentum," because it was fourth down. They were already up 7-0, and their defense looked good. Everything looked good, and instead of sending Will Lutz out there like I thought they would, they tried to get a little bit more, and it didn't work. Did you hate that play call?
The play call was probably the issue there. It's easy to look back at it now and say you should have kicked the field goal. I don't think it would have mattered. They weren't scoring. They just were not doing anything offensively. But if you just take everything into context and say, all right, we're up 7-0. We have a backup quarterback. We're home. Our defense is playing well. Probably take the field goal, go up 10-0. But it's 4th and 1. We just see so many teams go for it now. Like, it's 1 yard. The play call was kind of questionable, asking Stidham to do that. Again, I know he had really like one good drive, but Denver was never going to win this game with the way their offense was playing. And you could see New England knew that, and that's why they were very conservative. And they also, Payton probably had to know that the weather was going to change like that. They're on top of everything. They had to know that it was going to be like that. And some of the comments from the players were, yeah, you would go down the field, you couldn't see anything.
Oh, it looked awful.
The wind. So, yeah, it was really tough conditions, but I don't think that would have really changed anything. I mean, this Denver offense did nothing. I mean, again, New England's offense did nothing either. So
yeah, fair.
But if that game was 10-10, we might still be playing right now.
Oh my gosh, if it was 10-10, I was going to shut it off. I said, please, we can't take this game into overtime. No one wants that, except for maybe Broncos fans. But I think, Jared Stidham made mistakes, and Jared Stidham looked like a quarterback that was making just his 5th career start. And it's unfortunate the way that the cards were dealt to them, because so you want to play the what if game? If Bo Nix is in that game, do the Broncos end up winning, or do you think the Patriots still come out on top with this score?
I would say the Patriots still win, because I think the complexion of the game would be different. New England would play different too, right? If Bo Nix was moving the football, if they were able to get first downs and find the end zone, then it changes the way New England plays. So, that's what everyone does when they look at games in hindsight. Like, oh, well, with Nix, they could have scored one more touchdown. Well, New England changes the way they play. New England became very conservative in that second half due to the weather and due to the nature of the Denver offense. They knew they wouldn't.
They knew that.
They're like,
they weren't
Broncos are not going to do anything. And Patriots defense is really good. Everyone again wants to knock them. Oh, easy schedule. Look at the path that they got here, but the defense is legit, and really not running the football was a problem for Denver, right? Because when you have that backup quarterback in there, you want to rely a little bit on the run game, and they just couldn't do it. They averaged 3.3 yards per carry as a team, and just could never get anything going.
Yeah, it was, again, for a brief moment with Jared Stidham, you thought to yourself, man, is this actually going to happen in that opening drive? And then, all of a sudden, the Patriots pressured him on 17 of his 37 dropbacks. That's per True Media. He completed just 3 of 12 attempts, 58 yards, 1 interception with that pressure. So, listen, it was always going to be a tough task for Jared Stidham to go in there at home with that weather, with it being his fifth career start ever, to win that game against a really good Patriots defense. So unfortunate the way that it ended up. Questionable calls there too, I think, from Sean Payton as well, in those 4th down decision making calls. But overall, it was a great season for Denver. They don't want to hear it now, but it was. And so I want to see and we're going to talk about what these teams need to do in the offseason, but running back more specifically, because you just said it, Adam, their ground game never got going. Once J.K. Dobbins got hurt, it was really tough to watch. We were hoping that R.J. Harvey would be the answer, but in fantasy too, he never was. It was never there.
Yeah, it was disappointing for Harvey if you had him. We never really saw those big plays, that explosiveness. And, he did find the end zone quite a bit. I think, what do you have, like 12 total touchdowns? It didn't feel like it, but I think that's what he had, right?
Did not feel it.
Let me see. I think, he had 7.
Crazy.
Yeah, he had 7 rushing. Yeah, right? If you ask someone, hey, how many total touchdowns did R.J. Harvey score this year? No
I would
one's
have
saying
said
12,
6, maybe.
right?
No, I wouldn't have
Because
said 12.
it
Yeah.
didn't feel like it at all. I
Wow.
mean, he averaged 3.7 yards per carry, 540 rushing yards, 47 receptions for 356. So, but yeah, it just felt like you wanted more. Again, it's hard to be upset with 12 total touchdowns, but the path to get there was not what you envisioned, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
3.7 yards per carry, like no, you thought you'd get more out of Harvey. So, yeah, I thought, and even in this game, it was disappointing.
Yeah. 7 rushing touchdowns, 5 receiving for those 12 on the year, but it was just disappointing. I want to keep going through other aspects of this game and maybe the Seahawks Rams game that was disappointing as well. We've got Overreaction Monday though. If you guys want to send in your overreactions, please do at Valenzuela 17 at Adam Ronis. We're going to overreact to what we saw yesterday here coming up next. Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on this Monday, talking through the Super Bowl coming up here in a couple of weeks. We've got the Seahawks, we've got the Patriots, but of course it's an Overreaction Monday, Adam, so we're overreacting to everything we saw between those two games yesterday. I also see some notes here, so we asked people to send us their tickets if they had a bet on either the Patriots or the Seahawks going and winning the Super Bowl. I see one from the Golden Knights. They have a ticket. Oh, it's $5 for the New England Patriots to win the Super Bowl, plus 8,000. I like that. Nice.
Yeah, again,
Good.
these are not big bets. So these are people just I think it's Patriots fans betting with their heart.
Just like Tim, knowing that his team was going to get back there. They haven't
Again,
gone through.
so again, I thought the Patriots were a much improved team that was going to win 9 to 10 games because I think their win total closed at 8.5. I think it was 7.5, but I
sounds
think
right.
a lot of people were betting it, and for good reason. You know, we talked about how much we like Drake May, love the hire of Mike Vrabel. You see what they brought in, bringing in that veteran presence in Stephon Diggs. Again, didn't really have a huge impact throughout the entire season, but just having him there as a veteran receiver helped. The defensive additions that they made. So it made sense to see them make the playoffs, but the Super Bowl run is definitely something that not even the most optimistic Patriots fan thought.
Yeah, I'm with you on. I mean, they Vrabel took this team from a 4-13 team to his first season with them, and it's their first division title since winning 11 straight from 2009 to 2019. Again, Patriots fans do not know, like they only know hope and happiness. And I know it was a long 6 years, but man, I think a lot of fans are just jealous. I'm jealous too, to be totally honest with you, because again, finding a franchise quarterback is hard, and they have it in Drake May. So. Congrats to anyone that had tickets on that, but that's a fun one here. I see another update from Allie. Allie said regarding the lasagna, because this is something we do have to talk through, Adam. She said cook it the day before, freeze it in small portions, then when you leave, take it with you and heat it up in a microwave. That might be the way to go.
Okay.
Because I don't know if any hotel is going to let me cook a stove-first lasagna in their establishment.
Just tell them who
Hashtag
you
not
are.
an ad. I'll just say, have you heard of the Lucky Lasagna? And they'll say, no. And I'll say, okay, let me tell you all about it. I don't know what to do. It has to happen, though. I can't go. This can't be the week that I don't do it.
Because
Or in
if
2
you
weeks, I
don't
guess.
and
And
they
they
lose, you're
lose?
just going to blame yourself
I'm
for
going
a
to be sick to
long
my
time.
stomach, and I'm never going to make, well, I'm really close to never making lasagna again, ever anyway. But yeah, I'm
You
going to
have to be.
figure that
Are
out.
you sick of it at this point?
Yes.
Yeah.
1,000%. What do you, of
It is
course.
something that
It's heavy.
you eat once in a while. I don't think that's something you eat consistently.
No, because it's not like making spaghetti and meatballs, right? Like that feels different. This is like heavy.
That's a daunting task for me too. But anyway,
Is it? Oh, Adam, we have to figure that out. Come on. First the broccoli, now you can't cook spaghetti and meatballs?
anything
you do make
involving
guac,
cooking, it
but
doesn't.
you make guac though. That's good.
Yeah, that's
good.
different.
Yeah.
You know,
that's your thing.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah,
You
that's
know,
guac.
pick something you're good at, stick with it. That's what I do.
Exactly. There you go. So I will, in 2 weeks, I have a week to figure out the lasagna thing, but I am going to have to figure it out. And so Overreaction Monday, let me throw this one at you, Adam, because I did see this written up a couple of times. Is this an overreaction or not? Sean McVay ended the season in a slump. we just talked about his play calls and maybe some of them being a little bit questionable. But to be fair, maybe not a Sean McVay question, but we didn't see the best version of the Rams. Last night we did. That was a great version of them. But between them going up against the Panthers, going up with that game against Chicago, it wasn't necessarily the mid-season run that we saw from them and Matthew Stafford. So do you think that's an overreaction, or do you think that's kind of more reality?
No, I think it's reality. I think he didn't make the best decisions, and these are the games where it's very important that you do everything you can to maximize your team's ability. And I think there were times that he didn't make the right decisions. Again, late in the first half, allowing Seattle that time to go down the field, that was critical.
Yeah, I tend to agree on this one. Overall, it wasn't especially the final two playoff games for McVay. I just don't think it was his best, but they'll get back to it. Like I said, I think Matthew Stafford's coming back. I don't think he retires, and this has such a good core. They know what they need to do with special teams and everything else. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at for them. But it wasn't the best final two games.
Yeah, could have been a lot better. And again, came close to winning, but those mistakes get magnified in the postseason.
It's got to be more brutal that you fired your special teams coordinator in December to get that to turn around, and it didn't happen. We're going to continue breaking down these games. We got a lot of head coaches hirings that we need to talk about as well. Offensive coordinators too. We're doing that in the water cooler coming up next. Oh, this is Fantasy Life right here, and we are in our favorite time of the day, time for that Fantasy Life water cooler. If you don't know by now, we go through all the news and notes that you might have missed over the weekend and throughout those games yesterday, get you up to speed on everything and get you ready for this Super Bowl run. Seahawks, Patriots, it's going to be so fun. Everyone listening is a Seahawks fan now, I think. Maybe not our producer, Tim. Everyone else? It's going to be totally fine, but it'll be a fun 2 weeks previewing that game. And of course, getting you ready for the NFL draft, getting you ready for fantasy football drafts. It's never too early. FantasyLife.com, though, is where you can go check out all of our articles. Our projections are going to be there, our rankings for the Super Bowl as well. So you can check all of those out at FantasyLife.com. Subscribe to that newsletter as well. And those guillotines, guillotineleagues.com is where you can go for that. We're going to be breaking down tomorrow the most chopped players there. But it was not only great games yesterday, Adam, but there was a lot of coaching news over the weekend as well. So I kind of wanted to get your take, because I didn't hear you talk about it yet, or we haven't talked about it, is the Steelers hiring Mike McCarthy. How did you feel when you heard that? Did you laugh, or were you like, this is a good hire? No, there's no way you said this was a good hire. What'd you think?
No. I mean, look,
what are we doing?
He's had success in the NFL winning games, but this was definitely a questionable hire for sure. I don't think Steeler fans are happy about it. And yeah, it's a weird direction for the Steelers to go in.
It's weird, right?
Yeah.
He's old. He's 62, which again, that's older coach in the NFL. It just doesn't it feel like the same. They just tried to get almost the same person. Matthew Berry had a post over there on Instagram going through like what everything looked like with Mike McCarthy, and it just I don't know. It just feels the same. It doesn't feel inspiring. And I don't know, a lot of people are saying that they're doing this to try and keep Aaron Rodgers around, right? I don't even know if that's going to be the case. You think Aaron Rodgers sticks around now because they have McCarthy?
He could. I mean, you never know with Aaron Rodgers. Again, he wasn't like the biggest problem for them this year. I don't think he obviously is going to take them to where they want to go. But yeah, I don't know. It seemed like a weird hire at this point.
Yeah, it's uninspiring. I don't know. I think Steelers fans wanted to. They were mad. I've got a couple friends that are Steelers fans, and they were not happy about it. But again, you've got a coach that has 18 years of coaching experience. He's got 174, 112 and 2 record. Playoff record is 11-11 though. I just don't know if he's going to be the guy to get him over the playoff hump, but we've been wrong before, so maybe he can. I just was not excited about this at all. To go from Tomlin to maybe another season where they have 7-8 wins, I'm not excited for it, but you never know.
And he typically has good quarterbacks, which is why he's been able to win games, and we don't know what the quarterback situation is going to be. And even if it is Aaron Rodgers, at 43 years old, can't really call him a top quarterback anymore. So, yeah, you're asking McCarthy to do a lot here. So I understand why Steeler fans are frustrated.
Yeah, I'd be frustrated too. I think it's a calculated risk for what you just said. The potential he has an experienced offensive coach that works closely and has worked closely with some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. But you have to get that good quarterback first, and I don't know if they're thinking that he can do the same thing with Aaron Rodgers or not. But that's going to be, of course, a big question. And since we all know Aaron Rodgers, I'm sure we're not going to get a decision about a retirement anytime soon. I would over under July 25th that we have an answer.
I think it'll be before then.
Okay. All right. Good. Maybe
then again,
June?
it's Aaron Rodgers, so I'm not going to put anything past him.
How about right before training camp? Is that when we're going to figure it out? Those are like July 4th or something like that? Oh, great. Are you ready? 5 months talking about Aaron Rodgers?
Yeah. Fun? We've only done it every year, so what's another year, right?
So Mike McCarthy, I can't believe I'm saying it, but Mike McCarthy was hired as the next coach for the Steelers. I'm sorry, Steelers fans, but maybe it can get better. One hire I did like, though, and I think you were talking about it with Ian Hart is potentially on, I think this came through Friday, but the Ravens hire for Jesse Minter. Did you like that? I think that was a really good one. It felt almost obvious. I think he was the betting favorite the whole time to go over there, but this really did feel like a good hire for them.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough when you have Harbaugh there all that time and he goes, who is the right guy to bring in, but they bring in a defensive-minded guy who's had success and, was in Baltimore previously in the past too. So now, the key is just getting Lamar Jackson on the same page and getting him going in the right direction.
Well, they have a relationship, a pre-existing relationship, Minter and Lamar Jackson. So he was an assistant. If you don't know, Minter was an assistant under John Harbaugh from 2017 to 2020, and then he was able to kind of work his way up. Followed Harbaugh to the NFL, and then he was obviously someone that was rising assistant. We heard his name for a couple of years now as someone that maybe could be a head coach. So now he's getting his chance over there with Baltimore. Of course, just like any other hire, we're going to have to see what kind of coaching staff he puts together and assembles. And he needs to get the offensive coordinator hire correct immediately, because it feels like a weird timeline right now with Lamar Jackson, which started really honestly last season when they, were allowing him to seek potential trades and no team wanted to do it. We know how talented Lamar Jackson is, but he needs someone that's going to have a really good bond with him, that's going to, just be able to push him a little bit more. It was a horrible season. He was injured more than half the time. He never practiced on a Wednesday. It was just a not good year for Lamar Jackson, but he needs to get the offensive coordinator hire correct immediately, and that's going to be a lot to handle. But yeah, there are still some names out there. I saw Cliff Kingsbury. Cliff Kingsbury was connected to it, Adam. Maybe Brian Daboll as well. So we'll see what they do over there. But the OC hire is going to be huge.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be real critical. Ravens also want to get back to that defensive strength. That's what we think of with the Ravens for a long time, is that their defense. So we saw Minter really improve the Chargers' defense, as they were a top 5 in the NFL in defense this year, and also tied for 3rd in interceptions with 19. So trying to get back that defensive strength that Baltimore has been known for. But the other part of that is, Lamar Jackson turning back into one of the top quarterbacks in the league, which we didn't see this year. A lot of it was due to injury, and maybe he was playing through it down the stretch, but we were not used to seeing that Lamar Jackson.
No, we don't want to see it again either. Please come back to us, Lamar Jackson. We are going to still take you as a top 5 quarterback for sure. Maybe top 3 for some people, depending on what their rankings look like. But yeah, I think overall this was a really good hire for Minter with the Ravens. He knows the culture. They're not, and I think it was, they're not trying to shy away from what Harbaugh built there either. That it's, a new era coming in with a new coaching staff. But I mean, he worked with him, so it's one of those things where I think he knows the culture, he knows the tone to set, and hopefully he's able to do that in his first season and turn this team around. Our national nightmare, though, Adam, did you see this is over? Did you see it with Arthur Smith?
Yeah.
Yesterday, okay, not wait. Listen, he still has a job, but it's not in the NFL anymore. We don't have to talk about him anymore. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. But there was news yesterday, I believe, or 2 days ago, whatever. Arthur Smith is going to be named the Ohio State offensive coordinator. So no more in the NFL. He was the Pittsburgh Steelers OC for 2 years, 2024 and 2025. And yeah, he's expected to take over there at Ohio State. And yeah, there we go. That's all I'll say about him. Do you have nice things to say about Arthur Smith? Do you want to take the time?
I mean,
okay.
it's been a nightmare for fantasy using 17 tight ends and spreading it among the running backs, not using your best players. So, yeah, it's a good thing we don't have to deal with that anymore.
Yeah, it's fantastic because he had conversations with the Philadelphia Eagles as the potential OC hire, with the Tennessee Titans as maybe their head coach hire. I believe he went in to do an interview. So don't worry, everyone. We don't have to worry about that. He's going over to Ohio State. And yeah, do you think he can take Jonnu Smith with him? Do you think he's going to try?
I think he will, but
come on, get out there.
It might not work.
What? Why would you say that? No, it's yeah. So we don't have to figure out and worry about it. Again, we're going to be paying a very close attention to these offensive coordinator hires, because while there are 10 head coach, or there were 10 head coach openings for this offseason, that means we've got a lot of new offensive coordinators coming in as well. So we're going to keep paying attention to that. It looks like, this one was interesting. So Sean McDermott, there was a report from Ian Rappaport saying that Sean McDermott is likely to take a year off. This is one that I thought he was going to be head coach immediately after getting fired from Buffalo. But just like Mike Tomlin, it looks like we're not going to have Tomlin or McDermott coaching in the NFL next season. Now, if they do something else, Tomlin looks like he's going to get that TV deal. So we'll still be seeing him. But McDermott looks like, from these reports, is saying that he's not going to be there next season. Take a year off and then go from there.
Probably due to the time of where they are in the coaching cycle, with like where is he going to go? I know there's still some openings, but it's openings that no one wants that Cleveland job. I mean, people are dropping out left and right. So I think that's probably a factor. Like where would he go at this point? When you have Vegas and Arizona,
you didn't want Kyler? Come on.
Yeah, so that's probably why. It's just bad timing. It's probably not what he wanted. Probably just looked at it and said, again, this is a report, so we don't know, but probably said, you know what? Let me take a year off. Maybe there'll be a more desirable opening and take that one.
Yeah, and we've seen this happen for the last couple of years. McCarthy was one where we did not see him as a head coach, I should say, last season. Tomlin's doing the same thing this year. Vrabel, right? Vrabel did that same thing as well after Tennessee, if I remember correctly. Yes. Yeah, he did. So we've seen it before. And again, McDermott, in 9 seasons with the Bills, he went to the playoffs 8 times. I think if he does put his name back in for next season, he's going to be one of the bigger names, if not the biggest name that people want to go and get. But you still have openings for the Cardinals, the Raiders, the Browns, and the Titans. I think those are the 4, right? Because we got ones for the Dolphins. Yeah. So yeah, I guess he doesn't want those teams. It's fine. The Cardinals couldn't be that bad, are they?
Titans got Saleh.
Oh, Titans did get Saleh. So Browns, Raiders, Cardinals. Yeah. Cardinals can't be that bad, can they? I guess they are. Oh my gosh. That's not good. I didn't think they were going to be that bad. I didn't think they were going to have one of the last hirings of coaches, but maybe a couple of these teams wanted to wait for, the Rams are now out of it. Maybe a couple, the quarterback's coach or the pass game coordinator for Denver has also gotten some buzz. So something to watch out for there. Speaking of Denver, just with news updates, it looks like the Broncos do expect Bo Nix to recover in about 12 weeks. So he will be able to participate in their offseason program. Where are you going to draft Bo Nix next season? If we're in a draft right now for fantasy football, and Bo Nix, we're looking at the quarterbacks and we've got all of their rankings in front of us. Is he going to be outside your top 12 for next season?
Yes.
15? Outside the top 15?
No, probably around 15, I would say.
But not anywhere close to what he was going this year. He was around QB 8, QB 7. It was in that pocket of quarterbacks where it was Bo Nix, Patrick Mahomes, right? Kyler Murray. Baker Mayfield. Those were the four that were kind of together.
Yeah, he was not on my radar at all this year. Didn't want to draft him. I thought he was overvalued. And, his season was basically similar to his rookie year, right? I mean, the touchdowns dropped by 4, interceptions went down by 1, yards went slightly up, completion percentage went down, and the pass attempts went up too. The rushing yards went down. He had 1 more rushing touchdown. So, yeah, we saw there was a lot of this came against the bad defenses. So that's still a concern for me. He had 4 touchdowns against Dallas, 4 against Green Bay when they were playing, poor down the stretch. And then, he had that wild game against the Giants where everything was in the fourth quarter, 2 passing, 2 rushing touchdowns. But there were a lot of games with 1 touchdown pass or fewer. So, yeah, the erratic nature of the offense and Bo Nix, to me, in fantasy, is a problem. Like, I need more consistency. Like, those boom games he had were great, but we just did not see them enough. They're going to get a first-place schedule. So I want to see if they do anything to improve the offense as well. Do they bring Dobbins back? So there's still some questions there. But, yeah, I can't take them definitely in the top 12. I think once you get outside the top 12, I think as a backup quarterback, he's fine.
Yeah.
In case,
a second QB.
Yeah, in case we do see some improvement. But, yeah, I don't want him as my one. And I think people who did that this year were probably disappointed, I would say, right?
Oh, yeah. 1,000%. I had him in one league, and it was one that I thought about every single week. I said, why did I do this? Because I got at that draft, I remember it specifically. I felt like all the quarterbacks were becoming, it was becoming scarce. Like there was nothing around. So I said, let me just get Bo Nix with the potential. But I'm with you. I've got an article coming out this week for my top 12 quarterbacks, and he's nowhere close to top 12. Definitely not top 10.
He had 11 games of 1 touchdown pass or fewer. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was
frustrating.
Bad.
Yeah, it was frustrating.
Just
I think
6 games of multiple touchdown passes?
I think he's going to be closer to 16 and 15 than he is to top 10. It's not going to go back. But we'll watch his recovery. Again, looks like he's going to be good in 12 weeks, so participating in off-season programs will be key for that. The last update here in the water cooler is that, I changed it this morning because it was that Phillip Rivers might get head coach consideration, but now he withdrew from consideration for the Bills head coaching job. I know that you were on the edge of your seat, Adam, seeing if we would get more Phillip Rivers in the NFL in 2026. And at least with the Bills, we won't. So there you go.
I can make a joke here, but I will not make you cringe, so I'll refrain from saying it.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I can't. Was that ever really an option? Was it?
I don't know. Probably
Come
not.
on. No, it can't be. Anyway, don't worry, folks. We don't have Phillip Rivers as the head coach for the Buffalo Bills.
He might play again. Who knows? Maybe he starts.
Well, we got to stop doing that, though. That is crazy. Where's Daniel Jones? Please be okay this year, Daniel Jones. That's the one. That's going to be a huge, not only the rehab process for him, but you think they're going to re-sign him, right? He's technically a free agent.
I don't know. I guess a lot depends on where he is, but yeah, it's unfortunate because he was playing so well for the Colts, and it seemed like it was a good fit there. So that was just a tough break.
It was just awful. I think they're going to re-sign him because there's not good free agent quarterbacks this year, and the draft class is not good either. If your team was waiting and hoping that they were going to get someone in the draft, and someone always emerges, right, where we say, oh, we didn't really expect this from this prospect, and that could happen for one of these rookies, but it's going to be tough. And again, free agent quarterbacks are few and far between this year, so I think they might just have to cut the losses and re-sign him. But again, we'll be watching out for that. We've got 2 weeks to preview this Super Bowl, but that means we're definitely going to be getting into some of the free agents that could be on the move, more of fantasy football talk as well. And fantasylife.com is always where you can go. Subscribe to that newsletter. Check out all of our articles 100% free. We're going to continue on, Adam. We're obviously going to continue talking about the Seahawks and lucky lasagnas to be more specific, but the biggest winners and losers here presented by Xfinity. Want to talk about, Drake May's legs, Sam Darnold and JSN and their superpowers together. We're going to do all of that here coming up next. As always, appreciate everyone hanging out with us on this Monday. Hopefully everyone's staying nice and warm on the East Coast. I was in Boston Friday, Adam. Great city, by the way. It was super fun, but got out of there right in time on Sunday, early morning. How you doing? Did you turn the heat on in your place?
No, it's
Adam,
still
come
pretty.
on.
I'm not.
What are you doing?
And it's pretty cold in here.
You're so annoying.
But I've stuck through it. Now it will be a challenge this week. It is going to be temperatures at night in the single digits.
What is wrong with you?
I just don't feel the need to turn it on at this point.
You'd rather be cold, freezing?
We'll see. So like tomorrow, the high is 20. So here's the lows over the next few days: 8, 5, 4, 3, 3.
What?
So
turn on the heat. Come on. You don't
maybe.
Get a medal. What do you want? An award?
No. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe there is.
We'll give you an award if you just say that you're going to turn on your heat.
If I do turn it on, it's going to be like a half hour it's on and then it's off.
Yeah, but then it would warm up. What is your place at right now?
Oh, I have no idea.
Like lower than, it has to be colder than 65 then. 62.
Probably, yeah.
Oh my god.
I know if you walked in here, you'd be like, "Oh my god, it is
Well, that's
cold."
what I said. If anyone's going to go hang out with Adam, bring a portable heater and a blanket because you'll be freezing. It's just, do you want me to tell you what the temperature is for me today or no? I know you just got all that snow.
76?
No, a little colder than that. 71.
Oh, yeah, much colder.
71 and sunny. So, just good luck.
I don't even use heat in the car much. I know one of my friends is always like cold in the car. Like I'll put on the heat like to defrost the
And that's it?
Yeah.
Adam, come on. What are we doing? So your friend's probably like, "Hey, can we turn the heat on?" You're like, "No,
yeah." He's
we
like
can't.
freezing. I'm like,
"Oh my gosh, you're crazy." Anyways, hopefully everyone besides Adam is staying warm because I know he's not, because I know he's cold in that weather. But we are going to go through the biggest winners and also just some of the biggest losers from those games that we were watching yesterday, presented here by Xfinity. So again, some of the biggest winners, and there were some good ones here, brought to you by Xfinity. Imagine all your football all in one place, easy. Xfinity, imagine that. I think, again, we've talked about them before, but we can't talk about biggest winners without saying Sam Darnold and JSN, because we broke down this game earlier in the show, but if you missed that, their connection, and it wasn't even yesterday, it's just been all season, Adam, and the Rams tried to do their best to, make JSN, just cover him a little bit better, make him not part of that game plan, but he was hard to stop. They were able to take him out of third down situations, but he still finished that game, 10 receptions, 153 yards and 1 touchdown, and that's off 12 targets. So the connection between those two, fantastic. JSN's going to be one of the top receivers taken off the board for drafts this coming season, and it just looks really good. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting with him for next year, because if he has like a massive game in the Super Bowl, is there going to be a push to make him the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy?
Probably. I think the top 3, I would not argue with anyone that has the top 3 of Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, JSN any way. I think
order,
that
yeah.
those 3 can be in any order, and it can be right. But if he has a big game, I don't even know if he needs to have a big game. I think what he's shown this season is
I'm saying
enough.
Okay, so right now, I don't think many people would take him as the number 1 receiver. Do you agree?
I agree. I think it would still be Puka.
Right,
to be honest.
or Chase. Mm-hmm. So I'm saying if he does have like a massive game in the Super Bowl, and like another game like we saw yesterday, does that start to change people's minds? Now, one game shouldn't. We know that. But we know how people react to what they just saw. And the Super Bowl draws everyone's attention. If he has another 150 yards and a touchdown, do people say, all right, yeah, he's the number 1?
Yeah, maybe. Again, I've got my wide receiver rankings article live at fantasylife.com, but I actually put mine to start. And again, these change all the time. I'm going to change them weekly, but I did Jamar Chase, Puka Nacua, JSN. So I had JSN as my wide receiver 3. And I think for a lot of people, Jamar Chase might actually be wide receiver 3. And I think Puka is going to be their top, with JSN coming in and then Jamar Chase at 3. But I think if we get a healthy season, and it's a big if from Joe Burrow, because we don't see it often, but Jamar Chase was still able to put up fantastic numbers without him for a long time. And so I put him as my 1 to start things off.
Yeah, I'm leaning Chase right now too. My
Yeah.
initial gut reaction to this is because again, I don't think Chase did anything to really lose that number one spot. The
No.
targets were still there, the receptions were still there. Now the yards were down, but Burrow did miss some time. So if you give me a full season of Joe Burrow, and I know that's always a question mark because he seems to miss time with a variety of injuries, but right now he's healthy, should have a healthy offseason. There's no reason why Chase can't go back to what he did 2 years ago. Maybe not 17 touchdowns, it's asking a lot, but 12, 13, 14 with all
Yeah.
those receptions and all those yards. So, yeah, again, you can make a case for all three, but I think for me, it would be Chase. But I think
Yeah.
Jaxon Smith-Njigba, look, again, the connection is there with Darnold. We know he's force fed the football. Even as good a season he had, though, Jamar Chase still had more targets.
Exactly. That's kind of why I put him one. And again, people are going to criticize. I mean, there's something to nitpick with all these guys, right? And I
Yeah.
think with Jamar Chase, it's always going to be it's almost never a question of Chase, it's always a question of his quarterback and the health. And so when I look at that and when I just break down those receivers and I say I can't nitpick anything a part of Jamar Chase's game, that's kind of when I said, okay, I need to put him one just for now. And again, things change with Puka Nacua too. Like what happens if Matthew Stafford retires? Again, I don't think he does, but that also creates a ripple effect and that'll affect his ranking as well. So yeah, JSN though, he's one of the best around. He has been all season long, especially with Sam Darnold. I was trying to figure out one of the best around for, for the Broncos Patriots game, Adam. It was difficult, but I guess we can say quarterback rushing yards for Drake May. Again, it was not fantastic. So I'm really not trying to say he was the best around yesterday because of what he did on the ground, but it was, the one part of his game that did work. He only managed 65 net passing yards. That was tied for the second lowest mark for a winning quarterback in a playoff game since 2000. As a passer, we know it was not a good day on the ground. He did a little bit better. He got their only touchdown. So again, they won that game 10-7. Again, it wasn't the prettiest, but I guess in that game, that was the best thing that they could have going for them.
Yeah, one of the biggest appeals for me when it came to Drake May in the offseason and why I thought he could be a breakout and why I love drafting him based on where he was going was we are always looking for those quarterbacks that have that high floor with rushing. And we saw him do it in his rookie year. And I figured he would also improve as a passer as the receivers around him were better. And that's what happened. And now we've seen Drake May in 2 postseason games, at least 65 rushing yards, 2 games of 10 carries. So they are relying on him. They're letting him run the football, and he's been very efficient with it. So he's averaging 5.9 yards per carry here in the playoffs, and then had the rushing touchdown, the only touchdown for New England, which was obviously set up by the turnover. But yeah, May's ability to run was a aspect that we loved in fantasy, and we're seeing it here in the playoffs in 2 of the 3 games, big time performances on the ground.
And he only reached 60 rushing yards in the regular season one time. That was against Tennessee in mid-October. So now you've got 2 games, 65 against Denver, rushing yards, and 66 against the Chargers. We knew he wasn't going to do it against the Texans. He had 4 carries for 10 rushing yards on that one. But yeah, it's going to be a reason too if we're talking about a huge jump and someone that wasn't the best around on Sunday, but maybe made his stock rise significantly for fantasy football next season, Adam. He's going to probably be a top 3 quarterback taken off the board, to be honest, or top 5 for sure for some people from what he showed us. Like, I think Josh Allen's always going to be 1, but then people might want to take him. I don't know.
Yeah, which means I probably won't have him. I think I'll be priced out because I usually don't spend that early pick on a quarterback. Every time I'm like, yeah, I see you. Like I said it this past year. I said, if there's any year I would take early quarterback, it's this one. And did I do it? Nope.
No.
Now, I think I might have had maybe in best ball, obviously, because you do so many. You're like, all right, fine, I'll do one here. But like in leagues with Fab, I had none of the top quarterbacks, unless it's a super flex league. I did take Joe Burrow and then dropped him because he got hurt. But yeah, I had no Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts, in Jaden Daniels in redraft leagues. I had a lot of Dak Prescott, Caleb Williams, Drake May, Trevor Lawrence. Those were like the main guys. So I like to shop in that area. So as much as I love Drake May this year, I don't think I'll have much next year because he will probably be the second or third quarterback off the board. And I just, again, unless everyone else has the same mindset and they fall to the fourth, fifth round. But you also have to you got to revisit that a little bit too. Like if these guys are going in round 5, like we see a lot of picks in round 5 that don't work out. So I don't want to make that firm statement right now, but more than likely, if they're going like round 3, round 4, I'm probably not going to dip in that area, especially in leagues where I play with 2 flex spots and 3 receivers. It's hard for me to take a quarterback that early.
Yeah, well, that's the lineup that makes it difficult because the wide receivers, we talk all the time about how quickly the fall off is, and the fall happens very quickly from like a good tier of wide receivers to you looking at like Calvin Ridley and saying, well, I need him to be in my flex. And it gets dark very fast. And so I'm with you. I had a ton of, I had some Jalen Hurts this season, which didn't feel great at the time. I know his finish was all right, but week in and week out, it wasn't necessarily like home runs every time. Had a good amount of Dak Prescott, had a good amount of Jackson Dart, and of course Drake May. But I do think that he ends up, because if people are out on Lamar Jackson, then Drake May's too, because it would be, for me, Josh Allen, Drake May, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Jaden Daniels. That's probably how the first 5 are going to go. But
yeah, probably.
It's expensive.
I think the top 6 are probably going to be similar for everyone, and it's just a matter of what order you rank them in.
Yeah. And then the big question will be Jackson Dart. Where do people have Jackson Dart, and how good could he look with Harbaugh out there? I think he'll end up going as a top 7 quarterback. When the thing starts, I think he'll probably be at 10, like near Justin Herbert, Dak Prescott. But as drafts keep going, yeah, I mean, he does carry upside, so I can understand why people would push him up.
Yeah, with his running ability and then, hopefully getting Malik Neighbors back for week 1 too. Like we forget about that. Like he basically didn't have Malik Neighbors the entire season for him. So actually, because wasn't Malik Neighbors like very early?
It was, it felt, which is kind of crazy to me. And I'm not a doctor. I don't know timelines, but when he said it's my other job. It's really not. But when he said, I need to make sure that I'm right, I just figured since it was so early that he would have a really nice timeline return. And there is a little bit of doubt that maybe he could be placed on PUP before the season starts and miss those first 4. But again, we're way early. It's way too early to think about it, but there is a possibility that he's not ready to go for week 1.
They played 1 game together.
Yeah.
That's crazy. And then Dart still had a pretty solid season. So getting Neighbors back is massive. I mean, because again, Dart already showed he could be that borderline QB1. It really does come down to him, though. He's got to be smarter with the way he runs the football. He's got to go out of bounds. He's got to slide, cannot initiate this contact. So I'm sure that's going to be drilled in his head. They're going to talk to him about that. Harbaugh has a lot of experience with a running quarterback in Lamar Jackson.
He sure does.
9 rushing touchdowns for Dart, though. Asking that to repeat is a lot. But
I think
maybe the passing game gets better.
Yeah, I think he could still get 7 on the ground.
Yeah, I guess
we'll take 7. Yeah. This was the quote from Malik Neighbors, by the way, because it was an ACL and meniscus repair. The target date is when my body feels ready. If my body doesn't feel right, I won't be out there. That was after, though, Sean said that Neighbors would likely be ready for camp. So we'll just have to watch out for that. But I am ready to draft Malik Neighbors again. That is for sure, because we know how good he can be. And if that pass game, like you said, gets a lot better under Jackson Dart with Harbaugh there, it's going to be even better. So again, that was the best around here presented by Xfinity. We're going to continue breaking down these games and what's next for the eliminated teams. What do the Rams need to do this offseason to get them back to this spot and maybe a potential Super Bowl? Same with the Denver Broncos. We're going to break it down here coming up next. This is Kendall, Valenzuela, Adam Ronis with you, Fantasy Life, breaking down what's next for these eliminated teams. And it's not the Seahawks, and it's not the Patriots. I'll tell you that, Adam. It's not those two that were, hey, whoa. Well, technically, I guess it will be over in 2 weeks for both of them. But 2 weeks without football, what are we going to do?
I mean, I'll be fine. There's a lot of basketball going on, fantasy baseball draft, so I'm good.
Oh yeah, how's
I
that
got a
going, by
lot.
the way?
I'm very busy.
Yeah, Adam's like, actually, I just need to. How is the baseball draft going?
We're at round 12 or 13.
Okay, you're kind of moving.
Yeah,
That's pretty
I
good,
mean,
right?
yeah, and then start another one right when that one's done.
Nice. Yeah, so you'll be fine. I won't be. I'll just watch Seahawks highlights. That'll be fine.
Yeah,
Not
you have
the
that. You'll be
previous.
watching all the press
Yeah,
conferences
I'll
and
be good to
all the
go.
stories, and we.
Not the last Super Bowl that they were in with the Patriots. I won't watch that one. But other than that, I should be fine. I'm already sick of that.
Yeah, we're gonna see that a lot, and
The
it's
whole
like these are
time.
completely different teams.
I
So
know, but it is fun. They're gonna run the ball this time, I'll tell you that much. Hey, Kenneth Walker, by the way, still look good. I think, for what's next for off season for the eliminated teams, we're obviously gonna be talking about what Kenneth Walker, what the Seahawks are gonna do with him. But I guess when we start with the Rams, and Ian Hartitz does a great write up. So he's got 2 articles live at fantasylife.com, 100% free, what the Rams need for 2026. I think a lot of the questions are, about their secondary. So again, things that we pay attention to for fantasy, but their secondary, their offensive tackle situation, those are 2 situations that are going to be probably at the top of their list, because offensively, I really don't think there's much that's going to happen unless Matthew Stafford does decide that he wants to retire. But the secondary is a big question, and those offensive tackle is going to be a big one for them as well.
yeah, those are clearly the biggest needs. They got to get better on defense. Again, I think that's what cost them here. The offense did enough. I mean, I presented you and painted you that picture earlier in the show, where if I told you that they would only have 4 penalties, they have no turnovers on the offensive side. The
Yep.
turnover came on special teams. They would average 8.3 yards per play. Stafford would throw for 374, 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. You said, yeah, the Rams would win the game. So they did all that, and they still lost because defensively they just could not stop Seattle. They had no answers at all. And we saw the defense struggle against Carolina. It was better against the Bears, but I think the elements had a lot to do with that. And the Bears did obviously come through with some plays when they needed to, but defense was clearly their weakness, and special teams, as we've talked about, and that was well illustrated this season. But they could not stop Sam Darnold. I mean, 9.6 yards per pass attempt for Darnold, 346 yards. They sacked him 3 times, but no turnovers. You mentioned Kenneth Walker. It felt like his numbers were way better than they were. Now, he did get 4 catches for 49 yards, but just 19 carries for 62 yards, like 3.3 yards a pop. Now, it looked good, right? There were a lot of runs that we were like, wow. And of course, those fantasy players that had Walker this season were lamenting once again, like, oh, this could have been all year. But, to be fair, like, I don't know, like, you mentioned it, we discussed it, like maybe this was part of the plan just to keep Walker healthy. And Charbonnet wasn't efficient early on. He got a lot better as the season went along, though. I thought it was a big loss, though. I know Holani played a little bit more. He had that I don't know if it was a drop or just turned his head not soon enough on a play where he was wide open, where maybe Charbonnet makes the play. But yeah, Walker just looked really good, but the final numbers weren't as good as you would think, right? If you just watch that game, you're like, oh, how many rushing yards did Walker have? Like, oh, 62? Really? That's it? Felt like more. Again, 49 yards receiving, so over 100 total yards. And it's funny because we talked about early in the week, his carry prop was 20.5, and it went down to 19.5. And if you took the under, you cashed.
It worked. It worked out. Yeah, it was. I agree 100% with looking at his numbers and then watching that game. And you're like, oh, okay, these 2 things don't feel like they add up. And so there's definitely work for the Rams to get done. Obviously, special teams cannot be this bad next season. And I think, the questions for us on offense, really, again, it's Matthew Stafford. It's what he wants or what he needs to be able to come back. Although I do think he does come back for next season. And then Puka Nacua is going to be obviously the wide receiver 1. Devontae Adams is going to be 34, and that's the final year of his deal. So it was a 2-year deal when they did sign him in free agency this past year. So they didn't really get anything out of a number 3. Not that they really needed a number 3 receiver on this team, but like Tutu Atwell was fine. He like not great and not great at all.
The tight ends though played a big role.
Yeah, tight ends played a big role. So that's kind of my question is, Davante Adams, what's his return on investment going to be next year? Because that is someone probably in the touchdown department that we say that cannot probably happen again unless Matthew Stafford continues to play out of his mind.
Or they continue to pepper him with targets inside the 10.
Yeah.
Because that's the kind of the way they utilize them. What's crazy is that the Rams had 6 losses this season, all by 1 score, 4 by 3 or less. Wow. I mean, they were just there in like every game. And that's why it's so tough. Like, did you see Davante Adams when they were interviewing him? He couldn't even answer the question. Like, I felt really bad for him. Like, he couldn't even answer the question. Like, he just had tears in his eyes. And so, yeah, it's always rough because, again, when you're this close, you don't know if you're going to get back. The Rams certainly look like they can, especially if Stafford does return. They have 2 first-round picks, which we're not used to seeing with this team, right?
They're like, we don't need those picks. Go ahead. And they won Super Bowls because of that. A Super Bowl because of that too, mind you. But yeah, it's a big offseason. They're good in the draft. Let's see what they do with those picks as well. And let's see what Denver does. I've got the same questions for you for Denver and what their offseason team needs to be. Where they need to look. Is it linebacker? Do they add another pass catcher? What the heck is happening at running back? We've got a lot more offensive questions for this team than the Rams. So let's break that down here. Coming up next. Let's just keep breaking down the Seahawks and how good they are, Adam. How's that? For all my Seahawks fans out there. That's all we're going to do for the next 2 weeks. Just kidding, but it is exciting. Seahawks taking on the Patriots in that Super Bowl. And of course, we've got a lot of time between now and then, but we know it'll go by quickly. We're finishing things off here, though, talking about what these eliminated teams need to focus on in the offseason. So we just went through the Rams and what they need to do. It feels like not much for them to be able to get back into that spot. Now, the Broncos, maybe that's a different story. I just don't know. So I think linebacker is obviously going to be the big one when you look at, free agents that could potentially leave. Because if Singleton leaves, if Sternad leaves, that's going to be big questions. But offensively, Adam, don't we have the same questions coming in? It's pass catcher, it's running back. And maybe if J.K. Dobbins is the answer here, then that makes it easy. And they just say, we're going to bring back Dobbins and everything's going to be fine. But even at pass catcher, Cortland Sutton was the number 1 wide receiver. He's still going to be there. But Bryant, Mims, Franklin, they didn't necessarily establish themselves as these high-end target earners. We thought that maybe Evan Ingram was going to take over the Joker role. That was not even close to true. And he was he even playing? What are we doing? Was he even there? I don't know. So it's one of those big things where I think there are still a lot of questions for this offense that need to get right in order for them to be successful again next season.
Yeah, Broncos had the 2nd most dropped passes this season. Now, they did throw a lot. That's part of it. But, yeah, the receivers were a problem. Even Sutton had some big drops. We saw little Jordan Humphrey with some drops in the playoffs, Troy Franklin. So, yeah, they have a lot of names, but, you kind of want that one go-to guy. Or, making Sutton a receiver 2 might be beneficial for him at this point. So that could be something. They have to get better in the red zone. The red zone efficiency was pretty bad. And we know a lot of things went right for Denver this year. They had a lot of 1-score wins. We talked about it every week. It was like, how do they keep winning these games? Because a lot of close games, they came down to the wire. So now they'll have a first-place schedule. It's going to be more of a challenge. So, yeah, I think they definitely take a step back. A lot of these wins, too, were coming against bad teams. I mean, they struggled to beat the Raiders twice. We know the Chiefs weren't the same team. They beat the Commanders by 1. They got beat by double digits by Jacksonville at home. So, yeah, they had a lot of things break their way. That comeback against the Giants in the 4th quarter. Yeah. So, a lot of things broke right for them to get these wins. So, I definitely see them taking a step back, and I think there's a lot of areas that they have to address.
Yeah, I agree. I think one of the things that Ian Harditz wrote up at fantasylife.com, which you guys can all go and check out, he said, if I were the GM, he wrote that he'd make a real effort to get a yak-minded playmaker in the wide receiver or tight end room, yak being yards after the catch. You know who he recommended? Deebo Samuel. Not sarcastically.
I
know.
I don't think Debo's that guy anymore, though.
I know. He's going to be a free agent, though. So maybe I understand, though, the idea of getting just someone else in there. How many times did we get told that Evan Ingram was going to be the difference maker for this team?
Yeah, they need a tight end.
They need, yes, 1,000%. He didn't even really play a meaningful role all year. 28.8 yards per game. That's what he finished with.
Yeah, I didn't draft him anywhere, so I'm happy about that.
Well, that's good.
I know you did, right?
No, I actually didn't.
Oh, you didn't?
I did in a couple best balls, but I never in redraft. I didn't take him because it just didn't. Was he ever that expensive though?
I think at one point he was. There was some
okay.
the whole Joker thing. That was he might have been. I think he was top 12 for a period.
Okay, then I definitely didn't take him in redraft. Probably a couple best balls, but altogether, when we're talking about the pass catchers, this was the league's 12th cheapest group in terms of like $26 that's allocated to them in the wide receiver and tight end rooms. Which again, it's not bad, and there are some guys that can step up, but I feel like they need one big signing or something else, because defensively their offensive line is great. Again, those linebackers, if they're set to hit free agency, if they do walk, they need to get a little bit better there, but overall it was great, the offensive line, the defense. So it's pass catchers and running backs. That's what they need to look at. And yeah, running backs. I don't know what they do with J.K. Dobbins, if he's the answer or not. But it was good that he said that he, they were saying if they made it to the Super Bowl, maybe he was able to come back. So, he's hopefully going to be fully healthy once that 2026 season starts.
Yeah, he was good when he was out there. So maybe they do bring him back and maybe try and get Harvey more in a pass catching role, because we saw the bigger workloads did not work out for Harvey. The efficiency wasn't there. Dobbins averaged 5 yards per carry this year. He was good. So maybe you just make that a tandem. Dobbins is the feature back, Harvey is in the pass catching role.
The running back free agent class is good. Probably the best when we're comparing them to the quarterbacks and the wide receivers. You've got Javonte, Breece Hall, potentially Kenneth Walker,
ETN.
Dobbins, ETN. Yeah, you've got some good guys out there. So that's something we're going to watch for. We appreciate, though, everyone hanging out with us on this Monday. Go Hawks. We're going to continue to talk through this Super Bowl, but go to fantasylife.com, subscribe to that newsletter, and we will be here with you same time tomorrow. Enjoy.